This Tuesday morning edition of Pucks Across Borders on Sports Addict Live and Total Apex Sports is brought to you by none other than First Round Collectibles. What's your sport? Hockey, football, basketball, baseball, maybe wrestling, maybe even boxing, whatever it is, you can get it at firstroundcollectibles.com. And right now, with the promo code Sports Addict, you get 10% off whatever sports card your heart desires. They even have leftover sale items from Christmas up to 50% with the promo code Sports Addict. Not only do you get 10% off of regular priced items, but also items on sale. It doesn't matter. You get it for an extra 10% off. Go to firstroundcollectibles.com today and find your heroes. That's the number one, STRoundcollectibles.com. Promo code Sports Addict for 10% off regular priced and sale items. First Round Collectibles, sports cards for sports fans.
Yeah. Let's go. We just gotta go hard. I go the hardest. I bring the pain. Not what you used to. It's all part of the game. Yeah, I just gotta go hard. I just gotta go hard. Go hard. Yeah. Oh yeah, the beast back. Adrenaline pumping through my veins. Can't relax. Original. I am not the same as these cats. I sting them.
And welcome, Pucks Across Borders on a Tuesday morning on Sports Addict Live and Total Apex Sports on YouTube, on X, wherever, whenever you are watching this. We appreciate you. Lots to get into from last night, even more to get into on the ice tonight. But first, I'm your host, Mark Sauter. Good to be here. And at the top of your screen, you read his work about the NFL on Gridiron Heroics. You read his work on Winners and Whiners. You see him talk about the NFL, talk about the NBA, talk about college hoops, all on Total Apex Sports. Andre, how you feeling on a Tuesday morning, man?
Feeling pretty good. Woken up a little bit. I'm ready to go. Didn't realize my hood was still covered. But it is what
Looking
it is.
fresh. And at the bottom of your screen, you read his work about the NFL on Gridiron Heroics. John, how are you feeling on a Tuesday morning? And if I may say, getting a little bit closer to vacation, you must be pumped, man. You're gonna miss us. I know you will, but you must be getting
Definitely
pumped.
missed it. Yeah, I'm disappointed I'm not going to be here around the trade deadline. Things are getting very interesting in that department. I'm going to dive into that later. But yeah, definitely winding down. For the audience out there, I'm pretty much going to be like 2 more shows and then I'm out for a little bit. These guys I trust will do more than a good job of holding it down while I'm gone.
Well, it's a tough task, but we'll figure it out. And I mean, listen, it's the NHL, dude. Like, the trade deadline could be fascinating or it could be like the super boring. Like, I feel like the NHL salary cap has really butchered the trade deadline, and who knows what it's going to be. So let's dive in to the takeaways. 12 games on the ice tonight to get into. So we'll move along. John, we'll start with you, man. What's your takeaway from last night in the NHL?
So my takeaway is kind of continuing with a point we left off with from yesterday, and that's the New York Islanders. We were speculating their game against the Dallas Stars. I know I picked against the Islanders. I think I'm pretty sure we all did. But to my mistake, I would say, the Islanders ended up winning that game and pulling it out late. I didn't really think they had much of a chance, especially after the way they looked this weekend against the Lightning. But the Islanders pulled it out and at least kept their hopes alive for a little bit longer. That was a big win, in my opinion, because they were starting to slip pretty far behind Tampa Bay, Philadelphia, and Detroit. And I feel like they need to catch Tampa Bay and Detroit more so than Philadelphia, despite having more points at the moment. I'm looking ahead to Thursday with the Islanders now. I mentioned yesterday they're playing the Red Wings later this week, which I think is going to be a defining game of the season for the Islanders. And I think I need to add more context to this than I did yesterday. I feel like it could be something that defines what the Islanders are going to do for the next year, not just this season, because they're in a very difficult position, which I noticed yesterday. Apparently, someone pointed it out. I saw that they have one of the lowest rated prospect groups in the NHL. So, in other words, the Islanders don't have much of a future, and they're 7 points back of a playoff position right now, and 8 points back of Detroit. So, if they lose Thursday to Detroit, Detroit is pretty much well gone versus being in striking distance. So I think what we need to watch out for while I'm gone in particular is if the Islanders lose to the Red Wings, does the idea of trading Brock Nelson get brought to the table? Because he has just over a year left on his contract. He's not ridiculously expensive. I think he's around $4 or $5 million a year. I heard that proposed on Twitter, and I'm like, I think it might be a conversation the Islanders need to have with the situation down in the AHL for them. They have no bright stars coming up. They're probably going to need to rebuild if they can't do it with this group. So I think my takeaway is the Islanders held on a little longer, but if they lose on Thursday, does trading Brock Nelson become a discussion?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm on capfriendly.com right now, and like Barzell has 8 years left. Bo Horvat has 8 years left. Anders Lee has 3 years. Brock Nelson 2, like you said. But then you got guys at $3 million. Pierre Engvall at 7 years left on a deal. Like, there's just some decisions that have been made where it's like, listen, Pierre Engvall played for Toronto. He's a depth player. He's fine. But to tie him up for 7 years, it's like there's just some decisions that have been made. They have a lot of guys like Scott Mayfield. He's been journeyman his whole career, and he signed for 7 more years. Like, I feel like Lou Lamoriello has really tied them up in some weird, like Sorokin has 9 years left.
Wow.
Like,
I didn't realize that.
That's what Cap Friendly says. I could be way off, but that's what I'm seeing here. Like, that's some craziness. You know what I mean? So I'm right there with you, John. It's going to be really interesting to see. And they have $134,784 in projected cap space. So like, it's tight times out in the island. And we'll get a little bit more into the standings as the show goes on. Andre, what's your takeaway from last night, bro?
The Bruins, they did it again. I don't know about you guys. Well, I think I have a feeling about you guys, but at 1 a.m., I was up watching them lose a shootout to the Kraken, 1-0. And I just don't understand why they can't finish a game in 60 minutes. It's become a thing. It's what, 6 games in a row, you said, Mark, this morning?
I think it'd be 7 now, no?
7. I know the Kings
it's 6 in a row and 7 of their last 8.
All
7
4. Oh, yeah, because the Lightning was, because all 4 games on this West Coast road trip, overtime. So poor Boston and their sleep schedule, probably absolutely shattered. But the Bruins, they keep getting points. I guess good for them, but they just can't play a 60-minute game, win or lose. They just got to buy themselves some extra time. Maybe they want some extra practice in game situations. Who knows? Yeah,
it's crazy. Like, if you think about it. So I was doing this exercise this morning, which is interesting if you look at a lot of different teams. The NHL 500 is obviously different because of the overtime losses, and you get a point and all that. But if you just count those as regular losses, Boston is 34-26. The 34-12-14. So that line looks sexy, right? Because of the 34 and the 12. But if you add those 14 losses into like one column to the left, 34 and 26. The Leafs, who have played 3 less games than the Bruins, they would be 33 and 24. You have Philly, who would be 30 and 29. The Devils would be exactly 500. So it's really interesting if you kind of take out those losses and move them over to the regular loss column. That's what we've been saying, right? I've been saying it. Like, that's why I believe that the Bruins are gettable. Like, they're playing a lot of really close games, and they're losing these games, by the skin of their teeth. And you said it, Andre, they're getting points. But it's a weird fine line. Like, if they, pardon me, if they lose all those games normally, then they have, what's that? They have 14 less points. But if they win them all normally, then they have 14 more points and they're way ahead in the standings, right? So it's a weird fine line. For my takeaway, the Washington Capitals, man. This Washington Capitals team, we're waiting for them all year to die. And right when we think they're going to die, they don't die. And that game last night, I think, is partially the opponent is the most Jekyll and Hyde thing I have seen in my entire life. Facing Ottawa last night, of course. They're up 2-0. It's tied 2-2. By the end of the first, they're up 4-2. I think I texted you guys. Not only were they up 4-2, the shots were 14-14. Like, neither goalie was doing anything substantial. And it's great for me because I picked up Forsberg in my fantasy league foolishly. I don't know what I was thinking. But anyway, they ended up going on to win 6-3. And this goes into the standings. We're going to talk about it later, actually, in a few minutes here. They play Detroit tonight. And right now, Washington, with that win last night, they have 63 points, 6 points back of Tampa Bay, 7 points back of the Red Wings. Philadelphia plays Tampa Bay tonight. Philadelphia in that third spot in the Met. Washington's 4 points back of Philly. And so if Philly loses, Washington wins. Like, this is a really, in my head, I just thought that Philly was a lot more comfortable in that third spot. But when you look at the standings, I mean, the Devils, we've been harping on the Devils a little bit here lately, but they're only 5 points back. The Islanders, with the win last night, they're 5 points back. Pittsburgh has a huge game against Vancouver tonight. They're 7 points back. So it's really interesting that the wild card is like almost out of sight, but that third spot in the Met is just waiting for someone to take it. And we're going to talk about the Flyers later on. You guys know I'm a huge Flyers guy. I love this team. I believe in this team. But the facts are the facts. They're 1-4 their last 5 games, 5-9 their last 11. Like, they're kind of leaving the door open for something to happen. So, huge win from Washington last night. And to your point, John, with the Islanders, that's a really fascinating situation. Like, if the Islanders don't trade away big pieces at the deadline and they get into the playoffs, my question to kind of further your point is, for what? Like, get into the playoffs for what? Like, to get into the playoffs, you make some money making it into the first round. If the Islanders squeak in, I would be shocked if they won a round this year. I mean, the Islanders have won rounds in surprising fashion, more than once over the last few years. But yeah, super, super interesting, this wild card chase and getting into the postseason. And like for Pittsburgh, it's like Pittsburgh's fate is sealed over the next couple years regardless. So they're going to do whatever they can do to get in. But for the Islanders, I think that it's a bit of a different story. All right, going into our bad beats. Listen, Andre and I talked about it. Both of us, we got a little humbled yesterday in our best bets. And we're just going to skip that part because I have pride and I don't really want to talk about it. But, John, got to give you the flowers, man. You had a tough week last week. You finished off Friday with a win. You start off this week with a win. You picked the under in Kings and Edmonton, correct?
Yeah,
And boy, was that sweaty.
that was close.
But you got it.
I was scoreboard watching there, and Edmonton scored a goal late, so I was worried about an empty netter because they had the game in hand by the time it was getting close. But I was definitely worried about an empty netter. Not a perfect night last night, but the best bet hit. That's all that matters. And honestly, the losses are not really close enough to be a real bad beat.
No, I mean, yeah. You're bouncing back, bro. That's all that matters. Andre and I will be okay. A tough start to the week, but we'll figure it out. We'll round it out. All right. With that, let's just get right into it. 12 games on the ice tonight. Lots and lots to get into. Washington in Detroit. Not the game of the night as far as like two teams that everyone's dying to watch. But importance wise, this is a huge game, as I touched on a couple minutes ago. Detroit at home, -175 favorites. Washington back to back on the road now, +145. -1.5 for Detroit is +140. +1.5 for the Capitals is -166. The over is 6.5 at +105, and the under is -125. John, you're on a hot streak. Let's start with you, man. What do you see in this game tonight?
This is a little tougher to predict. I do think what you mentioned before, this is a big game for both of these teams. Detroit's trying to get more solidified as a wild card. Washington's trying to stay in the playoff race. And don't like on paper, I know none of us really believe in Washington to actually do something here, but on paper, Washington almost controls their own destiny because they're down by 4 points against Philadelphia and they have 2 games in hand on them. So theoretically, if they played 2 more games first, they could tie Philadelphia for the last spot in the Metropolitan. So Washington's just annoyingly sneaking up on us.
Yeah.
This game I think is tough for me to really make a solid bet on. I'm tempted to fade Washington in all honesty because they're playing a back-to-back, and I believe Detroit has won 5 straight games. So it's not 5 straight. So it's not a great spot for the Capitals, in my opinion. And I know the Capitals have had good luck in these types of matchups recently with like teams that score a lot of goals that are a little susceptible defensively. But I feel Detroit is a little more well-rounded and playing better than some of the teams that have fit this mold before, like the Devils, the Lightning, and Senators. And by the side note, I get to call them the nation's capital since they won last night.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we lost that.
We forgot to bring that up.
Shame on me for taking that bet, by the way, because, like, Ottawa, man. What am I trusting in Ottawa for?
Good thing you didn't throw the $1,000 on there.
No, not 1,000, but
in a way, I almost forgot we did that for a second. Getting back to this game, I think the point being, I do like Detroit to win the game. I'm not sure if I trust them on a puck line. So what I think I'm going to do here is take the 60-minute line. I feel like Detroit comes out on top, but Washington's playing well enough where I'm a little sweaty with the puck line. So I feel like the safest play on a back-to-back for Washington. Red Wings, I think, can get it done in 60 minutes, so I'll take that.
Andre, what about you, man? What do you see here?
Well, our future Stanley Cup champion Washington Capitals did not start Charlie Lindgren yesterday. They started Darcy Kemper. So are things looking up for them? Maybe.
Yeah, they got their homie in tonight.
But absolutely not. The Red Wings are going to wipe the floor with them. Unlike John, I'm confident enough to take the -1.5. I think the Red Wings offensively are too explosive for the Capitals to keep up, especially on the second half of a back-to-back. And the Red Wings shaky defensively at times, but they're good enough where they can keep Washington in check. The Washington power play is stale. The Red Wings have a good PK, so they don't have to worry about special teams too much. Special teams should be a huge advantage for Detroit, honestly. So, game that they need. Obviously, the Red Wings need most of their games at this point, and I think it's a game that they take. They're getting a tired team. They're getting a team that, despite winning 4 out of 5, is not that good and can't score with the Red Wings at all. So I'm taking the puck line for sure.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I do like the 60-minute line if you're feeling a little bit iffy. I mean, -115 is not terrible odds by any means. I like that -115 bet 100%. Jeez, my apologies. But I really like the -1.5 at +140 as well. Washington, listen, man, 4-1 their last 5 games. 4 of their last 5 games, all right, they have scored 4+ goals. 3 of their last 5 games, they have scored 5+ goals, and 2 of their last 5 games, they have scored 6 goals. So this team is scoring way more than they have been all year long. They're 30th in goals per game. We've talked about this at length for months and months and months. On this last 5-game stretch, though, you're 100% right, Andre, but they have been scoring over the last 5 games. For that reason, I do like the over. I can see them getting 2-3 goals, maybe making this interesting and getting a 4th. But I can see them holding up their end. I can see Detroit. I know that Washington has their main guy in net tonight, but I can see Detroit getting 4, getting 5. I like the over at +105. I'm a little bit, I think the over is probably on the fact of how Washington in a larger sample size doesn't score, but recently they're putting pucks in the net. I know it's a back-to-back, but I like Detroit -1.5. If you want to take the 60-minute line, I won't argue with that at all. And I like the over +105. I think they can do it. Detroit, like you guys said, 5-game winning streak, 8-3 in their last 11. I've watched a lot of Detroit over the last little bit, and they're playing some really, really good hockey. We have to mention Patrick Kane, 4 goals in his last 5 games. He's +205 to score tonight, which surprises me, and I feel like that's going to go down. So at 11:02, get on that now, because I don't think that's going to stay 205 for the whole day. So +205 for him to get a goal tonight. I like the Red Wings -1.5, and I like the over. Moving on to Buffalo and Florida. And this game, I originally was like Florida -1.5. But is this one of those not so fast games? Buffalo's playing some really good hockey now. Right now, Florida -230, Sabres +190 on the road, -1.5 for the Panthers is +110, +1.5 for the Sabres is -130. The over is 6 at -118, and the under is -102. Andre, we'll start with you, man. What do you see here tonight?
I mean, the Sabres scare me, but I don't think they're going to scare me from this one. The Panthers are on a tear defensively. The last time they allowed at least 3 goals was January 29th, or not 29th, January 19th, they allowed 6 goals to the Wild. Since then, they're 11-2-0, haven't allowed more than 2 goals in a game. If you're keeping pucks out the net like that, you're going to win a lot. And against the Sabres team, we know the deal. They play weird sometimes, randomly have outbursts, solid defensively, solid PK, have a 3-game winning streak. Kudos to them. They're not exactly lighting the lamp super often right now. It's like those are like 3-2, 3-1 wins. They're not going to get 3 goals in this game. And the Panthers probably will. They have enough offense where they can make that happen. The puck line scares me, though, for Florida. That's the issue. So I'm between Sabres plus 1.5 at -130 or the Panthers 60-minute line at -145. I might roll with the Sabres plus 1.5 because it's just a little bit better odds, but kind of shaky on that. For sure, taking the under, though.
Yeah.
Under 6.
Yeah, I'm right there with you with the under. I think that's absolutely my favorite bet for this game. I think the under 6 -102 is a lock in my opinion. Might see that in the best bet segment later. We'll see what happens throughout the show. Like you, I think my favorite bet, if I not my favorite, but if I have to pick a side here, I think I'm leaning Buffalo. I know it's a little bit pricey, but the -130 for Buffalo's puck line. I think that -1.5 for Florida is a logical option. I wouldn't fault anybody for taking it. I just think Buffalo's been playing some really close hockey right now. They're 5-2 their last 7 games. Now Florida's 11-2 in their last 13. So Florida is playing. They're the best team in the league in my opinion. I think Florida's the most consistent. That's just my opinion. So if you're taking -1.5 Florida, I don't fault you, but I just feel like this game screams 3-2. So yeah, I'm taking the under though. That's my favorite. And I think I'm with you, Andre, on the +1.5 for the Sabres. I don't love -130. But for what we're given with the choosing a side, I do think that +1.5 +1.5 at -130 is the best bet. John, what about you, man? What do you see here? I think I see a Buffalo money line written on your face here. Where are we going?
Nah, I'm going the complete opposite, actually. I'm glad you mentioned consistency with Florida. That's why I'm rolling with them at -1.5. Call it the chalk pick, because let's be honest, it is. But I can't pick against them here. You're not wrong about Buffalo. They have been a team that caused a little chaos in the betting world this year, and they are playing good hockey right now. You mentioned their record in this stretch. I think against almost any other team in the league with these odds, I would be with Andre and taking the Sabres puck line here. But I can't do it when it comes to Florida. I can't, because honestly, outside of Vancouver plus money, Florida to me is one of the most reliable teams to bet on in the league this year. And I just can't bet against them in this spot. They're playing a team that I think they're better than in every single category. Buffalo's strengths, I think Florida does better. Florida's the second best goaltending team in the league, allowing 2.4. And that's normally a strength for Buffalo as well. Florida also has a surprisingly good power play, which looking at their numbers, it really did surprise me. They're over 25% on the power play, and they don't strike me as a great offensive team, but they're putting up the numbers. Point being, I don't know if I think the Sabres are a little outclassed here. They're playing a team just as good of a streak right now, actually better with what you mentioned before. So I don't know. I think they're just running into a juggernaut. This is nothing against the Sabres. This is more of a pro Florida bet, to be honest. So I'm gonna trust Florida to take care of business here and take the -1.5.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's no debating Florida's the much better team. I think I have been impressed with how Buffalo's been playing, and that kind of makes me think a little bit about being confident on Florida, but absolutely, I can't fault a -1.5 pick there for sure. All right. Moving on. I don't know how long we got to talk about this game. Arizona is in Montreal. Montreal -108 at home. Arizona -112 on the road. So favorited Arizona is, which is interesting. +1.5 for Montreal is -250. -1.5 for the Coyotes is +205. The over is 6 at -118, and the under is -102. Coyotes 12-game losing streak. They're coming to my barn actually in a couple days, coming to Toronto. Hoping that losing streak is kind of broken by then, because you know how it is. You don't want your team to be the one to break another team's losing streak. 9. This is the one thing for the Coyotes that really sticks out, especially since Ingram has been hurt. 9 out of the 12 games on their losing streak, they have allowed 4+ goals. Only 2 of those 9 games have been 4. So 7 of those 9 games have been 5 goals or more that they've allowed. It's been a tough stretch for the Arizona Coyotes. On the Montreal side, listen, they're on a 5-game losing streak themselves. They are 3-11, their last 14. I'm going to pick the Coyotes money line here. I think Montreal has not been a good team at home. There was a time in Montreal season where they were feisty, they were overachieving, they were playing well. That time has long since sailed, and I think Arizona breaks the streak tonight, -112. But I don't know. The one bet, I keep coming back to it, boys, and it keeps cashing for me. Lawson Krause, 3+ shots. On DraftKings, over 2.5 shots for Lawson Krause is +114. So that's my favorite bet from tonight, to be quite honest with you, especially against a team that is almost as bad as they are. I really like Lawson Krause, over 2.5 shots at +114. Other than that, I'll take the money line for the Coyotes, but that shot prop by Lawson Krause is actually my favorite bet of the game. John, we'll go to you, man. What do you see here in this juggernaut of a tilt in the NHL?
Yeah, we have a full slate tonight, and I'd easily call this the worst game of the night. Easily. If you're betting this game, I know you're listening to our show. Put it that way. Come on. Of all the games,
is that what you mean?
Sorry,
Nothing. Go ahead.
I think this is one of those games where I would listen to one of Mark's props, because I got nothing, to be honest. Neither of these teams deserve my support when it comes to betting, because we're talking about a team on a 12-game losing streak versus a team on a 5-game losing streak, and you expect me to pick one? It's this is a game where someone has to win, and I got to be honest, I'm using my stay away pass on this one. This is just such a horrible matchup where I don't trust either team. Both of them are playing awfully. And I can't think of something that maybe I bet on a power play prop for Arizona. I don't know, a 22% versus a 73% PK. That might be something to look at. But they're 2 of the bottom 7 teams in the league in goals per game, and goaltending is just as bad, if not worse. I mean, Arizona's, I think they're 2 of the bottom 10 in this category. Yeah, and Arizona's free falling in that department, thanks to Mark's mentioned numbers above. So I'm in a position where I just don't trust either ones. I think this is one of those games where maybe you can find a decent prop. I'd have to take a closer look at the power play odds for Arizona's side of things. That might be something I'd be tempted by, but other than that, I'd just stay away, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, this game to me is a shot prop game, 100%. Another one that I forgot to mention, Cole Caulfield, over 4.5 shots, plus 110. The way he's shooting the puck right now, that should be minus money. So Cole Caulfield, over 4.5, plus 110. I like that one too. But yeah, man, I mean, yeah. Pick a couple props, call it a day. Andre, what about you, man? You see this differently? Are your eyes going to be glued to this matchup tonight or what?
Oh, you already know. I have a date already set, calendar marked, got the popcorn ready. I think the Yotes snapped the streak.
Mhm.
No rhyme, reason, or logic behind it. 12 is just too much. The Canadians are not playing well. They're not a good team. So I would take the Yotes money line. I really like the over, though. Both teams are just allowing a lot of goals. Both teams allowing a lot of shots. Or I wouldn't say a lot of goals, but consistently 3+. So, 4-3, Arizona win in OT. That's how it goes. I have the script. For props, Arizona doesn't allow a ton of shots. I like Connor Ingram over 27.5 saves. That's minus 120.
Is he back? Is he back?
He's listed.
Oh, nice.
So, I guess
Oh,
so.
okay. Okay, my mistake then. Nice.
Yeah, Lawson Krause getting a point is plus 100. Might dabble on that because I think it's going to be a higher scoring game. But that's all I got for this.
Oh, if Ingram's back in net, give me Arizona minus 1.5, plus 205. Yeah, buddy.
I think he agrees.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he wants to play guitar with me. He's bringing me his guitar. He wants to jam. We'll have to do it later, buddy. Dad's being a degenerate gambler right now. Sorry, dude. All right. Moving along to a game. Also, Andre, if this game goes to overtime, nobody asked for that. Nobody asked for an extra 5 minutes of this nonsense. We'll see what happens. Tampa Bay is in Philadelphia. Now, this line has been insane. So when we were doing our pre-show, Philly was minus 105, Tampa was minus 118, I think, or minus 112, something like that. Then right before we did the show, I changed the odds to what you see on your screen right now. Plus 102, Tampa minus 112. As of right now, Philly is plus 110 and Tampa is minus 130. It's very, very interesting. Philadelphia plus 1.5 is minus 230. Tampa minus 1.5 is plus 190. The over is 6 at minus 118, and the under is minus 102. Andre, we'll go right back to you, man. Plus 110. What do you see in this game, man? I don't know if I quite understand.
Either Vegas is buying this losing streak or they know something that we don't, because I mean, I told you last night, I was like, oh, the Flyers are plus money at home against the Lightning. Like, jump on that. I don't know. I feel like I'm walking into a trap, but I've loved to spring traps in the infamous words of Obi-Wan Kenobi. So I'm going to take the Flyers money line here at plus money. They need to get back on track. They have been a tough team. We've gassed up their PK for the past 4 or 5 days, and they can slow down Tampa's power play. One of the few. They probably score a shorthanded goal the way they're going. So it'll be tight. I think a lower scoring game if it fits the Flyers mold, if they do come out on top. But I like the Flyers money line here.
You're speaking my language, bro. You are speaking my language. John, we'll go to you next, man. What do you see here?
So, Mark, I feel like we've had some interesting conversations about this game.
This guy's going to take Tampa Bay minus 1.5, Andre, and just...
No, you're jumping the gun again.
Let's sorry. All right, sorry.
Minus 2.5.
I get angry when you start. I don't know. That's my fault. That's my fault. I have therapy this afternoon, so I'll figure it out. Go ahead, John.
I was going to say, I think Andre put this game on our radar yesterday when he texted us about the Flyers money line. And me and you talked about this back and forth in the pregame show about how we feel about each one of these sides.
Yeah.
I think we're on the same page when it comes to Tampa Bay, though. Just in the last few days, how we felt about them over the weekend, that they seem like they did what they had to do to survive and get by against the Islanders and the Devils. I feel like we both kind of agree on that. For that reason, I'm picking the Flyers money line here.
Love it.
It's I think this is more of a fade Tampa than a pro Philly pick because, like, yeah, the Flyers have been on a bit of a losing streak lately. Tampa Bay won 2 games they absolutely had to, in my opinion, or that tremendously helped them at the very least. What I'm going to be fascinated to see here tonight is the thing we love to talk about with Philadelphia, their penalty kill. This is a great test for them tonight because Tampa Bay has the top power play, or tied now with your boys, Mark, the top power play in the NHL. That's going to be a great battle of best versus best, in my opinion. I'm looking forward to seeing that. But overall, I do like the Flyers to win this game, despite not being able to keep up offensively with Tampa. I think their defense and goaltending is where they really shine. And I'm questioning if Tampa Bay can handle this type of team, a team that's very tight with defense and goaltending. And Tampa Bay's been very loose about that all year. They're kind of getting away with having a significant injury. My opinion, they're treading water a little bit. I think if a team can beat them up a little bit or make them uncomfortable, they can fold. And I think that's what's going to happen here tonight, especially in what should be an electric atmosphere in Philadelphia for a big game in the playoff picture. I feel like the Flyers snap it and come out on top tonight.
Yeah, I absolutely love Philadelphia plus 110 as well. I don't know this as a fact. I haven't deep dove into the numbers or deep dived or whatever into the numbers here. I do feel like a lot of people still see Tampa Bay as the team of past years. You know, they see Tampa facing Philly, people jumping on Tampa Bay here. Listen, the one thing Tampa Bay has that Philadelphia doesn't have that can change a game in an instant is Kucherov. That guy is an absolute beast. 4 points again on the weekend, as we talked about, John, against your Devils. This guy is single-handedly winning games for them right now. And I will say, on a complete side note, if Tampa Bay makes it to the playoffs, Kucherov should win the MVP. And the reason for that being, even if Matthews gets 70 goals, and the reason for that being, I don't think he will if Matthews hits 70. I think he'll get it. But the reason being is, if you look at the stats for the Tampa Bay Lightning and you see how many stats or how many points Kucherov has, and see how far away the next person is from his total, it is incredible how far and away. He has points on 50% of Tampa Bay's goals this year. So if they make it to the playoffs, man, Kucherov should win the MVP hands down, because no one on his team is producing even close to the amount of points that he's producing. So that's why I think people are jumping on this Tampa Bay bandwagon, at least for tonight. I disagree with it. I've watched both these teams a lot this year. I'm right there with you guys. I love Philadelphia in this spot. You're giving them to me at plus 110. Like you, Andre, it seems a little bit trappy. It seems like something's up, but I'm going to fall right into it, and I'm taking Philadelphia plus 110. I mean, listen, Tampa Bay, it is what it is. They're 5-5 their last 10 games, and Philly, as I said earlier, they're 5-9 their last 14. So Philly trying to gain their momentum back, trying to get back here. The interesting thing about this game is Tampa Bay has 69 points.
Nice.
Philadelphia has 67 points. If Washington, Devils, Islanders, if anyone catches Philly for that third spot in the Met, this game all of a sudden becomes huge, because they're 2 points back of Tampa Bay, but they have the third spot in the Met. So if the other teams can catch Philly, then this game becomes very important. And so I'm very interested to see that moving forward. But I do take Philly as well. All right, moving on. Toronto. I was about to say Tampa again. Toronto home against a team that they saw last week. I should have talked first in the last game because I'm going to go first here, and it's just going to mean me talking for way too long, but that's fine. Toronto is home to Vegas. Maple Leafs minus 162. Big favorites at home. Plus 136 are the Golden Knights on the road. Minus 1.5 for the Leafs is plus 150. Plus 1.5 for Vegas is minus 180. The over is 6.5 at minus 102, and the under is minus 118. So back when we were doing the show solely on Total Apex Sports back in the fall, all the way till now, you guys have heard me talk about how I do not trust this Maple Leaf team long term. They are always regular season juggernauts, and in the playoffs, it doesn't matter. They fall short every single year. They win around last year for the first time since I was in grade 9, but then they promptly get their butts kicked by Florida to kick them out of the playoffs. This is the deal. This 15 game stretch here where they are 12-3 the last 15 games, specifically the last couple weeks, this is the best regular season hockey that I've seen Toronto play in years. They're on a 7-game winning streak, and they're just playing insanely well right now. Not to get super nerdy with it, but that Morgan Riley suspension, 5 games, they won all 5 of those games and the 2 games since he comes back. It's not because Morgan Riley is not a good defenseman. He's their best defenseman. That's like nonsense. However, him not playing put the other defensemen in roles that they hadn't been in all year, and they shone. They shined. They shone. I don't know what that tripped me up. I don't know what terminology to use there. They did great, is what I'm trying to say. And my point being is, when Riley came back against Vegas, he was on the 3rd pairing. Like they found other roles for these defensemen that they weren't in because of the role that Riley plays. And that worked wonders for them. To add on to that, Tavares, they figured out, you know what? He doesn't have the foot speed anymore to be in the top 6. They moved him down to the 3rd line, moved Max Domi up to the 2nd line. That brought a lot out of people because now you have 3rd line wingers playing with John Tavares, who's still a very good playmaker. He just doesn't have the foot speed to keep up with the top 6 on the other team like he used to. That's just what happens. He's getting older, and that's just kind of what happens. But he's still a very good player, still very reliable, just now in a different role. Hats off to Sheldon Keefe and the coaching staff for the Leafs because they have found roles for this team to succeed. Tyler Bertuzzi, who was a huge offseason signing for the Leafs, he has not been good all year long. He gets a hat trick on Saturday. Just really, really impressed with how this Leafs team is playing and really interested to see what happens to them moving forward. That being said, for tonight, something that we haven't talked about enough on this show when it comes to Vegas is Mark Stone is out long-term. Jack Eichel is out long-term. Looks like Jack Eichel will be back in the foreseeable future, but still no word exactly when. That is huge. Now, the Leafs go on this road trip. They're perfect on the road trip. They're coming home. It's a Tuesday night. I can absolutely see the Leafs dropping this game. I don't think they will, though. I'm going to take the 60-minute line at minus 105. I think the Leafs pull out this win. I don't love the puck line just because the Leafs goaltending, it can be great or it cannot be great. There's no real middle ground with this goaltending tandem. I do think that the Leafs win this game. I don't trust the puck line like I just said, but give me the 60-minute line -105. I don't really trust the over either. I would probably lean over just because I can see this game being 4-3. Quick couple little things to throw out here. Let me just pull this up. So, Nylander, 4 goals, 10 points, 5 power play points in his last 5 games. For him to get a power play point tonight is +124. Matthews, 7 goals, 11 points, 6 power play points in his last 5 games. For him to get a power play point is +154. Marner, 11 assists, 12 points, 5 power play points in his last 5 games. For him to get a power play point is +180. This is the second best power play unit in the NHL. So I love some power play points for the big boys tonight. Thanks for listening. John, we'll go to you, man. What do you see in this matchup tonight?
Very passionate speech.
I'm buying into this team now, man, and it makes me angry, to be quite honest with you. It's uncomfortable. Believing in this team as a cup contender is uncomfortable, and I don't like it, but you gotta roll with it, man.
Sorry.
With that said, I feel bad for what I'm about to do here, but I'm picking against the Leafs tonight. This is mainly for 2 reasons. One, I feel like -160 is a bit much to be favorites here, despite this winning streak. Vegas still a really good team, defending Stanley Cup champs, second place in the Pacific. Point being, I feel like +136 is really good value for a team like that here. Number 2, Toronto blew the doors off of Vegas just 5 days ago on their home ice. I feel like that's going to be a factor in tonight's game, that they're meeting so quickly in this stretch. Makes me very tempted to believe Vegas gets a little redemption here. I don't know if it's fair to get into the goaltending statistics for Vegas, considering Aiden Hill got his doors blown off in their last meeting, but I just have a gut feeling Vegas is going to bounce back tonight, and Toronto, I feel like, is also due to lose a game. They've won 7 in a row. Might be time to have their streak come to an end. Vegas +136. Very, very hard not to take it with a team that talented. So I'm going to roll with them tonight.
To that point, in that 3-game losing streak, Vegas has allowed 4 goals, 7 goals, and 5 goals. And that trend can't continue against the Leafs. It just can't. So they need the goaltending tonight. So that'll be interesting to see. Listen, man, you talked to me a month and a half ago. Leafs in Vegas or at home against Vegas on a Monday night. I take the Vegas puck line -1.5. I switched that bad boy around. But I'm in my feelings right now, and like I said, it's not a comfortable feeling for me. Andre, what do you see here, bro?
Yeah, along with Toronto being on absolute fire, Vegas is struggling. Lost 5 of 6 outside of the shutout against the Sharks, which I'm not sure how much you can really count that.
Right.
The goaltending's been struggling, so against this Leafs team, they're going to give up a lot of goals. Toronto, for all their success, they're probably going to give up 2 or 3 of their own. So I do like the over here, and like you, I like the 60-minute line a lot. So pretty much in lockstep.
Love it. Let's just put it this way, John. The Rangers, their 10-game losing streak came to an end against Columbus. Toronto's got Arizona on Thursday, and then they have Buffalo next week. So I feel like those are the 2 games that I'm worried about. More than the Rangers, no disrespect, and more than Boston is Buffalo.
If Arizona loses tonight and Toronto wins, I could see that happening.
Yeah, dude, It's not. It's a bit
Good
sketchy.
point.
Yeah. All right. Moving right along here. We got tons of games to get to, and I went on way too long about my Maple Leafs. But hey, I believe, and it's scary. Moving on to Carolina and Minnesota. Plus 130 at home, plus 120 now. Some Minnesota money coming in, plus 120 at home are the Wild, minus 142 are the Hurricanes, minus 1.5 for Carolina on the puck line is plus 170, plus 1.5 for the Wild puck line is minus 205. The over is 6 at minus 110, and the under is also minus 110. Andre, we'll go to you here, man. What do you see in this one?
Quietly, because I think a lot of the attention's on the Eastern Conference teams that have been really hot lately. Minnesota has won 7 of their last 9 games. They're 7-1-1 in February, playing tremendously, and especially lately scoring a lot of goals. 5 goals last game, 4 goals game before that, 3 against Winnipeg on the second half of a back-to-back, and then obviously the 10-goal game against Vancouver. So the offense is clicking, and Carolina, their offense is not. 2 goals last game, 1 goal against Dallas the day before that, 1 goal against Florida 2 days before that, even though they won. I think I'm looking at an upset here in Minnesota. Carolina is a team that's notoriously not as strong at home. Even though they've been playing well lately, playing better, if you're not going to score against this Minnesota team, you have to take advantage of their weak defense and goaltending, or else they're going to beat you. You saw what happened to Edmonton. That's a game where the Oilers should not have lost 4-2, but they couldn't find the back of the net. So I think the Wild pull this one out here. I'd even go as far as to say I think the Wild win this one by multiple goals, but I'll take the plus 130 and just the straight money line.
John, what about you, man? What do you see here?
The Wild have definitely been playing good hockey at the moment. They're getting themselves back in the playoff picture. They've won their last 2 games and 7-2-1 their last 10. 4 points behind Nashville here. I think they need to win a lot more than Carolina. Do I think they're going to get it is another question. I do think Carolina's a really good team, and this is a tough matchup for Minnesota here. Carolina's goaltending, I swear, every time I look at this, they're getting better and better in this category. They've allowed they're getting up to 2.74 goals per game, and I swear it feels like every time I look at the list, Carolina's moving more and more up the list, because right now they're like 8th place in the league, which is amazing to me from where they've started. I know I'm beating a dead horse there, but still boggles my mind. Minnesota has allowed 3.29 goals per game, just to put that in perspective. I just think Carolina's the better overall, more well-rounded team. But I also believe Minnesota is a team that can keep up with Carolina. It could be a high-scoring affair, it could be one where I don't trust the puck line. That's more what I meant to say. I think what I'm going to do here is go Carolina 60 minutes, because Minnesota has been playing well, and they have shown they can keep up with teams like the Canes. But I have a feeling Carolina pulls this out. I think I trust their goaltending a little bit more. I think they're just a more well-rounded team. I'll take the 60-minute line for the Canes.
Yeah, you know what, man? I think I'm right here with Andre. I think, Minnesota's been playing some really good hockey right now. It's nothing against Carolina. I think they are a very good hockey. There's no doubt Carolina is a better hockey team than Minnesota. Like, that's not even a question. At the same time, like, Minnesota right now, 7-2-1 in their last 10. Carolina 6-3-1 in their last 10, but the last 2 games, Carolina has stubbed their toe a little bit, losing to Dallas, losing to Buffalo in the shootout on Sunday night, where the Wild, they lost to Winnipeg a couple games ago, but they beat Seattle, who Also shout out to the comments. Go Kraken. Seattle is they're a feisty team. They're going to stick around. And they're going to stick around. But the Wild beat the Oilers. They beat Vancouver. They beat Vegas last week. They're beating some good teams right now. And I just think the Wild are on a mission. I believed in them through this whole thing. And I really, really do think that they have an honest shot to make it to the playoffs. And there's no doubt they need this win more than Carolina does. I like the Wild at home on the money line, plus 130, went to plus 120. But either way, I like the Wild at home as well. I just think with the way Carolina's results have been the last couple games, they're just coming into Minnesota at a bad time. So that's what I see in this game. Moving on to Ottawa and Nashville. Ottawa, the bane of my existence. This team, this is hands down the most frustrating team of the year for me. I'm just so upset. I'm so upset by this team. As I've mentioned a couple times, I'm going to see their AHL affiliate on Friday. So I'll let you know if the future's bright for Ottawa. But who knows at this point. They are in Nashville. Nashville's minus 142 at home. Ottawa on the road plus 120. Minus 1.5 for Nashville is plus 170. Plus 1.5 for Ottawa is minus 205. The over is 6.5 at minus 115, and the under is minus 105. John, right back to you, man. What do you see in this one?
I think if last night showed us anything, it's that be very careful if you're ever going to trust the Ottawa Senators. That's a shot at all of us, by the way. Like, I had a temporary period where I started trusting the Senators like a week or so ago. They're starting to play well, but I think I'm going back to fading them every game now. Last night, I think, confirmed it for me. Nashville, I think they're a team that should win this game. They're a team that's playing very well, and a team on a good winning streak, I'll add to that. They've won their last 5. So they're playing good hockey when, quite frankly, they need to, with 3 or 4 teams right on their tail. Ottawa's a good scoring team, but I think Nashville is a slightly more complete team because Ottawa's a mess defensively and goaltending wise. I kind of trust Nashville to just hold up here. And this is a strange amount of 60-minute line picks today, but I think I'm going to do another one here. Mainly for the same reasons I said last time. Ottawa tends to be a team that scores quite a bit. Nashville, I think, minus 142, bit much to put on a money line bet here. I'm going to trust that they can get it done in 60 minutes. Give me the Preds.
Oh, man, I don't think you need the 60-minute line tonight. I think it's minus 1.5 Nashville, and I think you could even dabble in the minus 2.5 territory here, honestly. This isn't recency bias, okay? I've been watching. I love the Ottawa Senators, man. I've been watching them all year long. I had a lot of hope for this team coming into this season. This is what happens, man. Like last night was embarrassing. Like they go down 2-0 really early. They come back, tie it up 2-2. Awesome. When things go wrong for Ottawa, they collapse. They just fold. And I think to go from Washington to the nation's capital, to go from the nation's capital to Nashville, the music capital. I just think this is a really, really bad spot for Ottawa. I think last night was crushing for them. I think this whole season has been crushing for them. And listen, Nashville, they're on the move, man. Like Nashville is a team with a purpose right now. I had it up here. Sorry, let me just pull this back up. Nashville, 6-3-1 in their last 10, but they're on a 5-game heater right now. And I know they beat Anaheim, they beat San Jose, but you know what? Is Ottawa that much better than Anaheim or San Jose? It's the same. Ottawa sucks. Anaheim, San Jose sucks. Everyone, they all suck. And I think that Nashville keeps doing what they've been doing. They're in the playoffs as of right now. I think they keep making that playoff push. I think they win this game 4-1, 4-2, 5-2, whatever you want to say. I think they win by at least 2 goals. I'm going to stay away from the -2.5 just because I do think that I'm a little bit bitter and angry. And like I said, I have therapy this afternoon, so I'll try to work on it the best I can. But I do think that Nashville wins this game by 1.5. Give me Nashville -1.5 plus 170 all day. Speaking of all day, Dre, what do you got in this one, man?
Yeah, Mark, I'm right there with you. Nashville 5-game winning streak, at least 4 goals scored in every game, no more than 3 goals allowed in any game, 5 multi-goal wins in a row, all on the road. Now they're back home against a bad Senators team that plays even worse on the road in almost every way, and played yesterday in the nation's capital. It's going to be a blowout on Broadway today, so give me a Nashville -1.5 all the way.
Yeah, I'm so sick of this team, man. I don't know why it makes me so angry. Like, I'm a Leafs fan. I'm supposed to hate Ottawa, but I really, really like this roster a lot. And this is a side note. We have a ton of games still left to get to, so let's remember to talk about this later. Their coach won a Stanley Cup with the Pittsburgh Penguins on the coaching staff. And he was wearing a Pittsburgh Penguins cup ring at an Ottawa Senators practice. Is that offside? Wearing a cup ring that you won with a different team at a practice. I found that really weird. I found that kind of bizarre and a little bit too flexing for my likeness. But we'll talk about that on a lighter day. Moving on to St. Louis in Winnipeg. Big game. Not only for the Blues playoff hopes, but this Central Division is right up there for the Jets taking. So this is a huge game for the Jets as well. St. Louis in Winnipeg. Winnipeg is -192 now. A little bit of St. Louis money coming in. St. Louis is +160. -1.5 for the Jets is +136. +1.5 is -162. The over is 5.5 at -130, and the under is +110. Andre, what do you see in this one?
To me, the Blues are kind of in that Vegas territory right now, where outside of one shutout win, 4-0 against the Islanders, not really stopping the puck that often. 6 goals allowed in their last game, 4 goals allowed to your Leafs the game before that shutout, 5 goals allowed before that, 3 and then 4. Not getting stops, and their offense has been an issue all year. It's obviously not really changing right now. Whereas Winnipeg, starting to get back to Winnipeg hockey. Won 6 of their last 7. The only loss is the only time they allowed more than 3 goals. Absolutely clicking defensively, which is what they need to do. It's what they try to do. So I don't know about the -1.5. Actually, I do. Blues are giving up too many goals right now. Give me Jets -1.5 in this one.
Absolutely love it. Also, just to throw this out there, I apologize for keep turning off my screen. My son is hanging out with me this morning, and he is very involved, which is great. Love being around him, but it's distracting nonetheless. John, what do you see in this game tonight?
Your son might just want to make a pick. Like, maybe he just wants to make a hockey pick. We don't know.
Oh, he's already too much like me to introduce him to gambling. I think it's inevitable, but I'm trying to hold it off as long as possible.
Word. I got you, man. For tonight's game, I think I'm going to side with Andre here and pick the Jets -1.5. Mainly because of the goaltending here. Jets are the top team in the league in goals allowed per game. Blues, I've said this before and I'll say it again. I feel like this is the main strength the Blues tend to lean on, but I think they're just facing a team well above them in class in this department. I mean, Blues are not bad. They allow 3.11 per game, but going up against the best team in the league in this category, I think it's asking a bit much, especially on the road. So, yeah, I get people maybe being tempted by the Blues, especially because, like, this is a big game for them in the playoff picture. Every game counts, in my opinion, now for St. Louis because they need every point they can get to try to get back over Nashville. But I think it's going to be a tough road for them, in my opinion. I still like Nashville to come up with that last spot. And to support that, I did pick Nashville earlier in our segments, and I'm going to pick Winnipeg -1.5 in this one.
Yeah, I have a weird affinity for the Blues. I want to see them do well. I do think that they're better than their record. That being said, I mean, listen, Winnipeg went through their tough stretch, right? They stubbed their toe there for a bit. Was a little bit concerning. Yes, they're 6-4 their last 10, but they're 7-1 their last 8. They're playing really good hockey right now. And I mean, they beat Vancouver, they beat Minnesota, they beat Pittsburgh. They also beat the Coyotes in overtime. They beat Chicago in overtime. They beat the Sharks in a closer game. So, like, they're not blowing teams out of the water by any means, but I do think Winnipeg obviously is the better team. I think St. Louis, like, I watched them twice over the last 2 weeks playing my team, and they got destroyed by Detroit on the weekend. I just think that the clock is striking midnight for the Blues. They are close in the playoff race still, no doubt about it. But I think their time is kind of coming to an end here. I also like Winnipeg. See, I'm thinking about Ottawa too much. I got Ottawa on my brain. Winnipeg -1.5. Also, I know that the 2 games that they played each other happened at the beginning of the year, once in October, once in November, a couple weeks apart. But St. Louis hasn't beat Winnipeg yet this year, and they lost both those games by 2 or more goals. So I do like Winnipeg -1.5. On a side note, a little fun prop really quickly here. Gabe Vilardi has been scoring a lot lately, 5 goals in his last 5 games. He's +180 to score tonight. This is how weird it's been for St. Louis when it comes to scoring goals. The anytime goal scorer prop on DraftKings, you have Kyle Connor +135, Vilardi +180, Scheifele +185. You don't get a St. Louis Blue until you get to the 200s. that's how tough it's been for St. Louis over the last little bit. All right, moving on. I always get psyched when we talk about this team. I don't know why. Andre's boys, the Los Angeles Kings, after a tough they needed a win. They did not get it last night against the Oilers. They are now going just a few hours down the road to Calgary. Calgary -115, favorites at home. Kings -105. The over is 6 at -108. The under is -112. -1.5 is +215 for the Flames, while +1.5 is -265. You know what? We'll go right back to you, Andre. Start us off here, man. What do you see in this one?
I feel like these Alberta back-to-backs are never kind for anybody, especially not the way that the Flames are playing again. 6 goals against Winnipeg, followed it up with a 3-2 win over Boston, followed it up with a 6-3 win over the Oilers. Streaky team, and the Flames are hot right now. And the Kings, second half of back-to-back, they have been playing better of late, but offense is still a bit concerning just overall this season. I don't think they're going to have enough to make this one happen. I don't think Calgary's going to score 6 goals again like they have been, but I think the Flames are going to win. I would lean towards the under, and that's that. Calgary's continuing their push to the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. I think the Flames are just much more consistent right now. I think the Kings, no doubt, they've been playing better hockey. That goes without being said. But I just think the Flames are consistent right now. And you know what? I know that since the winning streak was over for the Oilers, they've been a little bit shaky, goaltending not terrific. But that win against Edmonton on Saturday that really showed me something. Like, they played extremely well. The Oilers tried to make their push, and the Flames just put their foot on the necks of the Oilers. And I was really, really impressed. I mean, look at their last few wins, man. They're 7-3 the last 10. They beat Edmonton. They beat Boston. They beat Winnipeg. They actually beat Boston twice in the last 10 games. Calgary is playing some really good puck right now. The games that they lost to, that San Jose loss was concerning. They got blown out by Detroit, but Detroit's playing some really good hockey, and they lost an extremely close game to the Rangers. I just really, really like what I'm seeing from this Flames team right now. I'm not going to get super deep into it. I'm taking the Flames money line as well. The total, I'm not really going to bother with it. This could easily go either way. I'm not going to bother with it, but I do like the Flames minus 115, and I might be convinced to take this puck line by puck drop. The Kings lost 4-2 last night, back-to-back against a really good Calgary team. I could see this being 5-2, 4-2. That wouldn't surprise me, so I might think about that puck line as well. John, what do you see here, man?
I feel like I'm going bold again with a Kings game back-to-back here. I don't like this back-to-back at all for the Kings. Last night was a tough loss for them. Also, I think this game is very important for Calgary because, forget Nashville for a second. I feel like if Calgary loses this game, any chance they have, and I still think it's a small chance anyway, any chance of them passing the Kings is virtually done if they lose tonight's game, especially in regulation. So I think they need this game to stay within striking distance because they're 7 points back right now. And they lose this game tonight, they're going to be 9 points back with less than 25 games to go. Don't like that at all for Calgary. I think playing a back-to-back in Alberta for the Kings is doing them no favors here. I'm picking Calgary money line tonight, but I'm also picking the under 6. I think this is going to be another low-scoring game. Don't expect much power play, special teams magic to happen, especially on the Calgary side of things. 14% power play for Calgary. Kings have one of the best penalty kills in the league, I believe, around 86%. Yeah, 86%. Kings are also a great goaltending team. I know they gave up 4 goals last night, but I don't expect Calgary to put up 6 on them. I'll just put it that way. I think this is going to be a tough, grinded out game. I trust this game to stay under 6 or at the very least push. I don't think it'll go over 6 at least. So I'd feel comfortable with both of those in this game.
Love it. Camille Thomas, there's no reason for fighting to be in the NHL. There's an add to the sport. Well, how about this, man? We got 2 games on the slate tomorrow, a light day tomorrow. Come back tomorrow. We'll talk about some fighting tomorrow. I'm down with that. That's a absolutely relevant topic. So come back tomorrow, and we will touch on that at the beginning of the show 100%. Moving on to Colorado, which this could absolutely be one of the, if not the game of the night from an entertainment value. Dallas, off of a tough home loss to the Islanders last night in overtime. They are now in Colorado. Some Colorado money coming in. They were minus 130 over an hour ago. They are now minus 135 at home, plus 114 are the Stars on the road. The over is 6.5 at minus 115. The under is minus 105. Dallas plus 1.5 on the puck line, minus 205. Colorado minus 1.5 is plus 170. John, we'll go right back to you, man. What do you see in this one tonight?
A very good game, honestly. it's been a tight division race for a while in the Central between two of the three teams playing tonight here, Colorado, Dallas, and we just talked about Winnipeg a game or so ago. So getting right into it here. This game I'm a little bit torn on, honestly. I mean, these are two of the top offensive teams in the NHL, third and fourth in goals scored per game. Both of them are pretty decent power plays, like hovering around 23% each. Not too far apart there. Penalty kill, both of them are over 80. I don't see a real edge there. In terms of goaltending, I've touched on this before with both of these teams. I don't think either one is the most reliable, though. If I had to pick one, I trust Dallas. I gotta be honest, I'm a bit torn on this game. This is definitely one of the more difficult ones to pick for me. I feel like minus 130 is a bit much. I don't really trust the puck line or the 60-minute line for either of these teams for that matter. So minus 130 might be a bit much here for my liking. But Colorado is a fantastic home team. I think we've also talked about this before on the show. Now their home record is 22-6 for the year. That is,
Yep.
I haven't looked at the full list here, but I would have to think that's the best in the NHL.
Yeah, it is.
Best home record. So I think that is making me lean Colorado. But like I said, and I see you updated the odds there, Mark, even at minus 135, I feel like I have no choice but to bite the bullet if I'm touching anything in this game. Because, I think these two teams are too evenly matched to, fully trust a 60-minute line or a puck line here. So I feel like you have to go money line if you're touching a side. Even the totals I'm a bit shaky on, given the goaltending situation for each I just mentioned. I think I'm going to play it safe and pick the Colorado money line.
Andre, what about you, man? What do you see here? You agree?
Yeah, I agree that the Avs are going to win, but I'm very confident in it. Actually, I don't care the Ottinger's in net for them. Colorado went to Dallas twice this season, pulled out a 5-4 win, pulled out a 6-3 win. And like John said, they're money at home. They're fantastic. Their only home losses in 2024 were to the Maple Leafs and the Panthers, two teams playing extraordinary hockey. So nothing to be ashamed about whatsoever. I really like the Avs, and I like the over a ton. Obviously, these are two elite offenses. I really like the Avs here. I've been debating between 60-minute line and puck line this entire time. Might go with the puck line. I'm that confident in them. The Avs aren't. I mean, Dallas is on the second half of a back-to-back. Had to travel. Denver's tough enough as is. Just can't see them. Even with Ottinger, even though they have really good skaters, I can't see them keeping up in this game for 60 minutes.
No.
So I'm going to trust. I did it against Vancouver and it worked. I'm going to do it again. Avs minus 1.5.
So both my son and I look at it this way. I think that game against Colorado or against the Maple Leafs on Saturday. That game against the Maple Leafs on Saturday. Yes, Colorado went up 2-0, but there was no point in that where I thought that the Leafs were in danger. Colorado did not play a phenomenal game. That was a really tough loss. You're up 2-0. I know it's the Maple Leafs, but you're up 2-0 at home. You got to finish that game out. Then you have Dallas, fast forward. Dallas, who we talked about earlier, tough loss last night. I think this is a really tough spot for Dallas. It's that simple. They're coming into Colorado's barn. They come off a tough loss on the weekend. I think Colorado bounces back tonight. Like you, John, I do think I have to bite the bullet on the minus 135. I will say that it's a weird thing, and this is just, I've watched both these teams a lot. We all watch hockey every single night. I can't really explain it other than I feel like either Colorado wins by 1.5 or this game goes to overtime. Like I feel like
Yeah.
it's either like, you know what I mean? Like I weirdly like the puck line more than the 60-minute line because I do think if they don't win by 2, I think it goes to overtime. So
I'm right there with you.
yeah, it's really weird. I'm gonna lean the puck line as well, but I there's no shame in taking the money line here either. All right, 2 games left to dive into. Pittsburgh is in Vancouver. Oddly, a big game for Vancouver. They get the win on the weekend, but they've been scuffling their feet a little bit here. Don't forget that win they had against Boston on Saturday. They were losing that game 2-0 late into the third period. They had to come back, tie it up, and they had to win in overtime. So Vancouver's been scuffing a little bit here, and Pittsburgh is the ultimate definition of desperate. I don't know. Like, yes, the Devils are desperate, but the Devils have a young team with a bright future. That's not Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's not a team that's looking forward to, we'll get them next year. Like, every year that passes that Pittsburgh doesn't make it to the playoffs is a year that they're letting go. It's so Pittsburgh's maybe one of the most desperate teams in the NHL. Minus 155 are the Canucks at home. Plus 130 are the Penguins on the road. Minus 1.5 are the Canucks. Plus 160. Plus 1.5 are the Penguins. Minus 192. The over is 6 at minus 115, and the under is minus 105. Andre, we'll go right back to you, man. What do you see in this game?
Vancouver. I see a lot of Vancouver.
Yeah,
like you said, the Penguins' definition of desperate, but they're just not built for it. They're not talented enough where I think it really matters. They start this 4-game trip on the infamous West Coast trip, Seattle, Vancouver, Alberta, and they get the toughest draw first. That's not a good start. Way faster team, more talented team. Still playing for something are the Canucks.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be close. I like Canucks minus 1.5 here. The Penguins just, I don't think they have it in any way, shape, or form. I don't think they're going to fight with this team. And they're solid on the road, but they're not as good. So this is a brutal matchup for them. I don't think this is a team they can hang with at all.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. I think I really want, just emotionally, I really want to back the Penguins here. I think Sidney Crosby is having a magical season. Clearly in the back 9 of his career. I actually do think he's going to play for a long time. But he's just having a terrific season. Talk to me about Crosby anytime goal. Talk to me about Crosby shots. Talk to me about any prop that's Crosby. I'm here for it. 4 shots on that crazy win against Philadelphia. Sorry, 4 points in that crazy win against Philadelphia. I love anything Crosby. Talk me into it. But I'm right there with you, man. I think Rust is out now. Gensel is out now. I just don't see where they're getting the offense to beat the Vancouver Canucks. I just don't see it. Give me Vancouver minus 1.5 at plus 160. If you want to talk to me about the 60-minute line, minus 105, something a little bit less risky, I'm here for that. I can see that as well. But I just think Vancouver is just too much. And the injuries are just mounting up for Pittsburgh. Even without the injuries, I don't give them much of a chance, but you're taking away Rust, you're taking away Gensel. I just don't see how they get the job done tonight. John, what about you? What do you see?
I agree with your take on Crosby, by the way. Just as a long-term note for Pittsburgh, I do think he's going to play a while. He's looking very good, especially for his age. Yeah. Again, conversation we might have in the offseason. I just don't think that's going to be with Pittsburgh forever. that he plays. I think he'll start playing with other teams soon. Mark kind of put that in my head a few episodes ago. But again, I'll save that for another day.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
In terms of the Penguins, about a week or so ago, I wrote the Penguins off as being done. I'm not going back on that right now. On paper, they're technically very much alive because they have 4 games in hand on Philadelphia, and if they were to win out, they would technically pass them. But, and I say there's a big but here, I don't think they're going to do it. I just don't believe in them. I really just don't. I haven't seen enough for me to say they had a weird win against Philadelphia, and I say that as a very strange 7-6 game. That's not enough for me to say Pittsburgh's about to go on a run. I just think they're running into a juggernaut. Vancouver got out of their skid recently over the weekend against Boston. Very much needed win to get back on track, my opinion. Vancouver, offensively, they're a much better team. Second in the league in goals scored per game. Pittsburgh doesn't even average 3 goals per game, to put it in perspective. Pittsburgh's been very solid goaltending most of the year. They're top 5 team in the NHL in goals allowed, but Vancouver's right behind them. Like, they're nearly even in that department. So I think the reason why I'm joining the Vancouver puck line train here is because I already called my shot with Pittsburgh saying they're done. B, I just don't think this is a good matchup for them. Like, Pittsburgh's strength is something I think Vancouver can neutralize, and they're just a much more complete team offensively, in my opinion. So Vancouver puck line is my pick here.
All right, moving on to the last game of the night. The New Jersey Devils in San Jose. San Jose, home dogs, plus 210. New Jersey Devils, road favorites, minus 258. Over is 6.5 at minus 105. The under is minus 115. Devils on the puck line, minus 108. Sharks on the puck line, minus 112. John, talk to us here, bro. What happens? And I asked you at the beginning of the show, or not at the beginning of the show, during our pre-show. And let's be honest, Andre, he dodged the question. I asked him if he was scared, and he was talking about what he had to do tonight. He dodged the question, and I want to know, are you scared about this game tonight? Be a man and tell me the truth.
I remember this now because it feels like a while ago at this point.
Yeah, it's a couple hours ago.
I was mentioning that I'm probably not even going to be able to watch the whole game tonight because I have so much to do tonight and tomorrow. Scared a little bit, yeah. To answer your question, yeah, a little bit. I won't lie because, A, we're playing the worst team in the NHL. B, the Devils need every point they can get right now. So,
yeah,
I agree with your take that you guys brought up about a week ago now, that the Devils really need to win almost every game in this stretch, especially because they lost to Tampa Bay on Sunday. Now I feel like they can't afford to lose before Florida because we have a very friendly West Coast trip, to be fair. Like, it's at San Jose, at Anaheim, and at Los Angeles, which is not a juggernaut by any means. So it's a stretch where realistically we could go 3-0 if the Devils play their hockey. Then the Devils have Florida next week as soon as that's over. So I'm a little scared about that one. With this game in mind, I'm not hesitating. Devils puck line. I'm very confident. I shouldn't be, but I am. I would have no qualms if you guys picked Sharks puck line or even Sharks money line with the way the Devils are playing right now. I can only tell you, I just feel I feel strangely confident the Devils are going to keep themselves alive a little longer, especially because the Sharks came into their building in December and beat them bad. I don't think the Devils have forgotten that, especially because they lost, quite frankly, a miserable game on Sunday. I think this is just a game the Devils are desperate for. And Dawes should be playing tonight after not playing on Sunday. So I think all of that makes me feel better. The Devils are going up one of the worst goaltending teams in the NHL. I still think they can get it together enough here. Going all in, I could look foolish by tomorrow, but I'm going to take Devils puck line. Like I said, I wouldn't blame you guys at all if you go the other way, but that's what I'm doing.
So this is the thing. and I'm not picking on you. I'm just going off what I heard. All right. You're saying that the Sharks went into the Rock, beat them bad. They haven't forgotten it. The Devils don't have time for personal vendettas. Who cares about that? You are going to miss the playoffs unless you win almost every game that you have left. You have to win this game. Who cares if they beat you? Whatever, man. The Sharks suck. They're going to suck for like the next 5 years. So who cares? You need to win this game. And I don't know where to go in this game. I think that the -1.5 puck line for the Devils is the obvious play, but I just don't trust this team, man. We've watched the Sharks all year long. Yes, they're a bad team. Yes, they can get trounced 6-1 at the blink of an eye, but they can also make you sweat and they can also make you fight. And their goaltending out of the blue can stand on its head and steal the game. I don't know. I'm almost leaning Sharks +1.5 here, just to kind of like. Would you be shocked if the Devils won 2-1 or won 3-2?
No.
Like that wouldn't shock me at all. I'm probably staying away, to be quite honest with you, which is weird. Like I should be taking the Devils -1.5 without a thought, but I'm leaning +1.5 or stay away in this one. We talked about this. Listen, if the Devils somehow lose this game tonight and Philly loses, then it's a big deal, but it's not the end of the world. But if Philly wins this game and you lose to the Sharks, that's a tough pill to swallow. I expect the Devils to come in tonight and to win by 1.5. But what I've seen from this team, like that loss against Tampa Bay the other day, John, like you can talk about the goaltending all you want, but that team in front of them, like that did not look like a desperate hockey club. So I'm really interested to see what comes out from this team. I want to roll with the 1.5 with your boys, man. But I just haven't seen it lately, and I'm nervous about it. Is that fair? Like I don't think I'm being too harsh there. I think that's about what we've seen.
No, like I said, I think I have my heart a little bit into this to the point where I pretty much have to roll with it. But like I said in my takeaway for this game, well, my monologue about this game, I wouldn't argue with you guys if you went the other way. I really wouldn't. I just have a gut feeling the Devils are going to pull this out. Like
they should.
And I just use the personal. I get what you're saying about the vendetta thing. You're right. They don't have time for it. But I do think they need to use any fuel necessary to get this game out on top. So I feel like they might go the Michael Jordan route and say, make a problem when there might not be any.
Yeah, that's fair. That's absolutely fair. And you know what, man? Timo Meyer, give me 2+ goals at +1,000 back in the Shark Tank.
That's a good
Timo.
I
Let's go, Timo. You've been invisible all year. Let's get 2 goals and get your team into the playoffs. Let's go. +1,000. Andre, finish it up here, bro. Long show. Lots of games in the NHL. Finish it off. What do you see in this game tonight?
This is also going to be my stay away.
Yeah.
For John's sake, I hope he's right, but there's just a lot going into this game. First of all, it seems like everyone on the planet wants Lindy Ruff fired, and it would be very fitting if this was the game that got him canned. It seems like struggling teams go to the tank and everything just falls apart for him. We saw it with the Oilers. We saw it with the Rangers. We saw it with the Golden Knights recently. No, it was the Kings, excuse me. They just, you go to the tank and then suddenly you lose to the worst team in the league. I don't think that's going to happen because of what happened in Prudential. What was that, December? But it's tricky. I really don't know what to do with this game. So I'm not going to do anything. How about that?
How about them apples? Love it. Love it. All right. Good job, boys. Lots of games on the ice tonight. Lots of good takeaways. It has come to be the time of our best bets. Andre and I took one on the mouth yesterday. John, 2 in a row. Let's see if we can keep it going. Andre, we'll start with you, man. What do you see in the NHL as your best bet tonight?
I feel like I'm gonna be an absolute fool for this, but it's the Arizona Coyotes money line.
Whoa.
That surprised me.
Whoa.
They can't
Okay.
lose 13 in a row. Connor Ingram's back. They're playing the Canadians. Like this
Yeah,
has
okay. All right.
this has to be the one. I feel like I'm gonna regret that, but I feel very confident that they're gonna win. It just jumped out to me immediately.
That's so funny. All right. Love it. John, what about you, man? What do you see here as your best bet?
Oh man, that's hard to top. First of all, oh man, that's an interesting one. A lot. I don't think there's a clear lock on the board tonight. In all honesty, like I could go a lot of different ways with this, but I'm feeling. This is going to be a bit of a bold pick as well, but I'm feeling the Philadelphia money line. I really like them. I think Andre inspired me to take a little bit of a bigger risk than I intended to.
Okay.
Let's go.
First of all, Philadelphia's on a tad of a bit of a skid right now, which I think they're due to get out of. And Tampa Bay, I don't believe Tampa Bay matches up well against teams like this. Teams that are strong defensively and goaltending wise. Tampa Bay, I talked about it before, great power play unit, but they're running into a juggernaut, like best on best with special teams. Looking forward to seeing that matchup, but I weirdly believe Philadelphia can come out on top. I think Tampa Bay's barely been getting by. I think they're due to get a little humble bit tonight. So give me Philadelphia money line.
Mark, you gotta pick the Sabres now.
Oh man. Well, it's funny. I'm bouncing between two different best bets. And you know what? This isn't going to be super bold like you two. It does make me a little bit nervous, but I'm fairly confident in it. Gonna take it. So you took Philly. That's a 7:00 game. As is the Arizona game. Get those 2 wins out of the way, and then get some tea or some Ovaltine. Get those PJs on, some slippers. Light a candle if that's your thing. Cozy up for Pittsburgh, Vancouver, and watch the parlay sweep with a -1.5 win. Vancouver Canucks over the Pittsburgh Penguins plus 160. A honorable mention, Lawson Krause, 17 shots over his last 5 games. Over 2.5 shots for him tonight. I believe it was plus 114 that I saw in that Montreal game. But give me Vancouver -1.5 at plus 160.
There we go, boys. Starting off, we got the Flyers money line from John plus 114. Moving on to Montreal, where the Arizona Coyotes are -112 to pick up the win. Last but not least, the Vancouver Canucks -1.5 at home against the Penguins is plus 160. Oh, Arizona just moved to -110. There you go. A little bit better odds. But altogether, it's plus 962.
Absolutely love it. Do we love that one, bud? Yeah, I think we love it. Awesome. Well, everybody, thank you so much for watching. As always,
I think he's still muted.
Yeah. I wasn't sure if he was figuring it out or what.
Yeah,
Boston sabotaging the show.
I know, man. He wants to cut it.
there we go. Am I back? I'm back. All right. My son does what he wants to do, man. He sabotaged the stream, but that's okay. We press on. Anyway, I forgot to mention before our best bets that the best bets are brought to you by First Round Collectibles. Promo code Sports Addict for 10% off whatever sports card your heart desires. Hockey, football, basketball, baseball, wrestling, boxing. It doesn't matter. You can get it at firstroundcollectibles.com. Use the promo code at checkout, Sports Addict, for 10% off sale or normal priced items. Okay, a bit rocky of an ending, but that's okay. Thank you guys so much for watching or listening, whether you're watching live or throughout the day, whenever, wherever. We appreciate you. Follow us all on socials, like, subscribe, the whole deal. We will see you tomorrow morning. Good luck on your bets. John, last show tomorrow to a little well-deserved vacay. We look forward to it, man. Have a great night. We'll see everybody tomorrow.